If you're so smart, then fix my boat. Says the rich woman. 30 engineers failed. Poor dad solved it. The storm had passed. But the luxury yacht lay stranded at the edge of the marina like a wounded beast. Its owner, Victoria Sterling, was pacing on the dock in her designer heels. She was known throughout the city as the ice queen of the waterfront, brilliant, ruthless, and impossibly rich. For 3 days, 30 different engineers, mechanics, and technicians had come and gone. Each had promised they could fix her million-dollar yacht's mysterious engine failure. Each had left, scratching their heads. Time was running out. She had a high-profile charity gala scheduled on the boat that evening. Another one. She sighed when she saw the man approaching. His clothes were worn, his boots scuffed, and there was grease under his fingernails. He didn't look like an engineer, more like someone who fixed bicycles for a living. I heard you needed help, the man said quietly. Name's Daniel. I'm good with machines. Victoria raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. Really? Because 30 real engineers couldn't fix my boat. What makes you think you can? Daniel shrugged. Sometimes you just need to listen to what the machine's saying. Victoria scoffed. Fine, if you're so smart, then fix my boat. Inside the engine room, Daniel ran his hand over the cold steel, closing his eyes for a moment. He listened not just to the silence, but to the faint vibrations, the smell of fuel, the way the parts sat together. You're not broken, he murmured to the engine. You're tired. Victoria stood behind him, tapping her heels impatiently. Are you going to do something, or have a conversation with it? Daniel smiled faintly. A bit of both. He pulled out a simple wrench from his tool bag and started making small adjustments, not the dramatic overhaul the others had tried. He tightened a single valve, cleaned a clogged fuel injector, and recalibrated a sensor by hand. Try it now, he said, after less than an hour. Victoria rolled her eyes, but hit the ignition switch. The engine roared to life, smooth, powerful, alive. The entire yacht seemed to shudder with joy. Victoria's jaw dropped. How did you do that? They told me the whole system needed replacing. Daniel wiped his hands. It didn't need replacing. It needed understanding. Machines are like people. Sometimes, they just need someone to listen to what's really wrong. For a moment, Victoria didn't know what to say. She looked at the man in front of her, not just a mechanic, but someone who had solved what 30 experts couldn't. Who are you, really? She asked softly. Daniel hesitated. Just a dad trying to make a living. My little girl loves boats, so I learned everything I could about them. Guess that paid off today. Victoria's icy exterior cracked, just for a moment. She reached into her bag and pulled out a checkbook. Name your price. Daniel shook his head. Just give me enough to buy my daughter a second-hand dinghy. Something we can fix up together. Victoria blinked. No one had ever turned down her money before. Later that evening, the gala went on as planned. But Victoria couldn't stop glancing at the quiet man in the distance, his little girl now holding the keys to a small boat gifted by the richest woman in the city. For the first time in a long time, Victoria realized something. Sometimes the smartest people weren't the ones with degrees or titles. Sometimes they were just poor dads with a wrench and a heart. The storm had left the marina in chaos. Twisted ropes and broken docks floated in the water. But the biggest casualties sat quietly at the far end. The Sterling Star, a massive luxury yacht owned by the infamous Victoria Sterling. Victoria was a legend in the city's elite circles. Billionaire heiress, ruthless negotiator, and perfectionist to the bone. But right now, her perfectly manicured hands were clenched into fists. 30 engineers had tried. 30 had failed. The yacht's engines refused to start. And the charity gala, the biggest social event of the season, was just hours away. Victoria's voice was sharp as glass when she spoke to her assistant. Find me anyone. I don't care if it's a mechanic. From the junkyard. This boat moves tonight. That's when Daniel arrived. He wasn't called. He had overheard the panic at the Marina Cafe while delivering spare parts to a friend. With oil-stained hands and a faded jacket, he didn't look like someone who belonged anywhere near a luxury yacht. Victoria took one look at him and almost laughed. You've got to be joking. Are we seriously scraping the bottom of the barrel? Now, Daniel stayed calm. I fix engines. Doesn't matter if it's a tractor or a yacht. Machines are machines. Her lip curled. Machines worth $50 million aren't the same as your rusty farm equipment. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe, but I hear they still run on fuel and steel. Something in his quiet confidence made her pause. Fine, she said coldly, stepping aside. If you're so smart, then fix my boat. But if you scratch it, you won't live to regret it. Inside the engine room, the air smelled of salt and metal. The other engineers had left it in pieces, wires hanging, panels removed, expensive diagnostic tools still scattered on the floor. Daniel didn't rush. He ran his fingers along the pipes, feeling for heat, listening for subtle knocks when he tapped the casing. He didn't pull out fancy tools, just a wrench, a cloth, and a small screwdriver. You don't need to open it all up, he murmured. You just need someone to pay attention. Victoria's voice cut through the room, talking to the engine. Is that your big technique? He chuckled softly. Engines talk back if you know how to listen. Minutes passed. He tightened a single valve the others had ignored, flushed a clogged fuel line, and manually reset a sensor that had been overcalibrated. Try it now, he said. Victoria rolled her eyes, but turned the ignition anyway. The yacht came alive in a deep, smooth roar. The whole vessel vibrated with power, the once dead machine purring like a satisfied cat. Victoria froze. No, that's not how. Daniel wiped his hands on his rag. Your boat didn't need 30 engineers. It needed someone to notice. She was choking on her own fuel. You can't always solve a problem by throwing money at it. Victoria stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. Who are you? Daniel Moore, he said simply. Single dad. Fix engines for a living. My little girl's obsessed with boats, so I learned everything I could about them. Victoria blinked. In her world, people fixed things for money, for prestige, for reputation. But this man had learned to keep a promise to his daughter. She pulled out a checkbook. Name your price. Anything you want. Daniel shook his head. Just enough to buy a little boat. Something my daughter and I can fix together. That's all we need. For the first time in years, Victoria Sterling was speechless. No one had ever told her that's all we need. That evening, as champagne glasses clinked aboard the Sterling Star and the city's elite mingled on the polished deck, Victoria's eyes drifted toward the edge of the marina. Daniel stood there with a small boat hitched to his truck, his daughter jumping up and down in excitement. And for a fleeting second, the cold billionaire smiled, because 30 engineers had failed her. But a poor dad, armed with nothing but love and a wrench, had given her something far more valuable than a working yacht, perspective. That night, Victoria wrote in her journal, money buys engines, heart makes them run.